Hi all, welcome and welcome back to my channel. On February 20th of 2025, a 5-year-old little girl wandered into her parents' bedroom and found them both sleeping in their bed. But she couldn't wake them up. So she ran to her older sister, woke her up, and told her what she found. When 17-year-old Sarah Grace Patrick went to her parents' bedroom, she told police in her 911 call that she found them both deceased. When police arrived on the scene, they confirmed that 36-year-old Kristen Brock and her husband, 45-year-old James Brock, were in fact deceased, both with visible gunshot wounds. Shots apparently not heard by their teen daughter, who was allegedly sleeping in the same house. So police began investigating to find out who would have wanted the couple unalived and who was able to infiltrate their quiet home on Tyus Road near Carrollton, Georgia, to make it happen. Kristen's daughter and James' stepdaughter Sarah, the ever devastated child of unalived parents, gave a touching eulogy about how much they meant to her and how much she'll miss them. Then she took to TikTok and posted a series of videos, crying and talking about how much she loved her kind, church-going mom and stepdad. Heartbreaking posts that garnered much attention and sympathy for the teen. And as time went on with no arrests made after the unalivings, Sarah found more and more people sympathizing with her and taking an interest in her parents' case, which many, if not most people in her shoes, grieving the loss of not just one loved one, but two, would not necessarily care about. Because they're in shock, they're grieving, and they're trying to somehow wrap their heads around the nightmare they've suddenly been launched into. But not Sarah. She welcomed the attention and interest. She courted it. She pursued it. As interest in her parents' case grew, she decided she could get even more attention if she could get true crime TikTokers to cover the case. That would definitely spread the word that she was a grieving daughter who just wanted her parents back and could even make her an overnight celebrity on TikTok. So, she reached out to some, asking them to cover the case. And one TikToker in particular decided to cover it, despite her husband's concerns that Sarah herself was involved with her parents' unalivings, particularly due to information provided to them by Sarah that there was no forced entry into their home, which of course is a huge red flag. But that wasn't the only red flag. The TikToker said Sarah sent her a message after asking her to cover her case, saying, quote, "I think it would be a really big hit," unquote. Which she said her husband picked up on right away, and I would have as well. Because what victim ever talks about their story that way? But the TikToker who goes by the name Allegedly Reportedly, if you want to check her out, said she believed Sarah, thought she was just a grieving teen, and she wanted to help her out. So, she covered the story. Not knowing police were already watching Sarah, and were picking up on her grabs for clicks and views as well, as she cried and said she just wanted the person who ended her parents' lives caught. Then, on July 8th, almost 5 months after her 911 call to them, Sarah got what she was asking for. Police had finally arrested her parents' unaliver, Sarah herself.
Tonight, a stunning update from Georgia investigators.
We can confirm that an arrest has been made in the case. Kristen Brock's 17-year-old daughter, Sarah Grace Patrick, has been taken into custody.
Carroll County authorities confirming Patrick faces 2 counts of murder and 2 counts of aggravated assault. The recent Central High School graduate being charged as an adult, authorities saying her dad brought her to turn herself in Tuesday.
She turned herself in because we notified her she had warrants for her arrest.
Authorities remaining tight-lipped about any theories on a motive, but saying they have a mountain of physical and digital evidence and crediting collaborations with the FBI, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation's crime lab, even private forensic laboratories. Video online shows Patrick delivering eulogies for her mom and stepdad.
I was so used to you guys always being here. I didn't have a single clue how much I needed Joy until now.
The Carroll County Communications Director asked by reporters if they believe she covered up the crime.
Considering that she didn't just immediately tell us what happened, yes. But who knows what's going on in a young person's mind like that? It is an open, ongoing investigation. It's very possible others are involved as well.
The case sparking massive interest online among true crime enthusiasts. One claiming the teen reached out in the months before her arrest looking for help catching her parents' killer.
Why would you ask me to cover a case where you are going to get arrested for taking your parents' lives?
We spoke on the phone and we spoke via text.
This woman, who calls herself a family friend, posting last month that Patrick didn't hear anything on the night of the murders, except
She did hear James's LVAD machine, which is his heart machine that kept his heart pumping. She did hear that alarm going off throughout the night.
Sarah commenting on that video that she heard the alarm 10 to 20 minutes before going to bed, but said it was faint due to background noise. It's unclear tonight if she has an attorney. Her father posting this quote on Facebook Saturday saying, "To my daughter, never doubt your place in this world. I see you, I believe in you, and I'll always be in your corner." He told NBC News via phone, "It's just how I feel about my daughter." He said he's brokenhearted, adding it's just too early to speak without an attorney. And, quote, "All I can really say is she's innocent until proven guilty."
And Maggie Vespa joins us now. I mean, Maggie, listening to that Georgia investigator saying, and I'm quoting here, that this is an open, ongoing investigation. She also said possible others could be involved. I mean, what are people that live in the area saying about this seemingly stunning development?
I mean, their minds are blown, Ellison. Keep in mind, this is a small rural area, a community about an hour west of Atlanta. This is a really tight-knit place, and suffice it to say, this is really rocking it to its core. It also kind of adds to that mystery that you're talking about, that investigators didn't go into detail as to what they called it, mountain of evidence was. So a lot of people really want to know, how did they figure out that they had enough to arrest her, enough to charge her? And then, as you point out, they said there could be others involved. But we're also seeing people who know the family posting about this case, just saying how shocking it is. One woman who said Kristen, the mom, was her best friend, posted saying that her heart is shattered. She said, "My mind is blown." She goes on to say, obviously, she's innocent until proven guilty, talking about Sarah, but posted, quote, "We are grieving 3 people now with this arrest." Allison.
NBC's Maggie Vespa, thank you.
Allegedly, reportedly herself, who's asked us to use only her first name. Janice, welcome to the show. I love the name of your channel, by the way, Allegedly, Reportedly. Very creative there. What a weird situation you got yourself into, though, here with her contacting you. What did you think when you found out about her arrest?
Just shock, mostly shock. I also thought, I'll have to tell my husband that he was correct. He called this immediately, but shock, sadness. What teenager gets charged with this, and why was she messaging me?
Did you believe her at first?
I absolutely did. I thought I get requests for case almost every day, coverage. So to me, this is just a teenager who is going through a horrible moment, and I want to help her. I want to cover this, and maybe someone that knows something will say something. That's always the hope. But as I began researching it, I did have some questions, but I didn't want to lean into those questions. I just told myself, this is a teenager. This is the victim's daughter. There's no way. So I covered it.
What was it that made your husband suspicious? You mentioned that your husband sort of thought something weird was going on.
Mhm. The no forced entry, her description of it, which I have not shared publicly, I have only shared that with the lead investigator so far. But as soon as I read him her initial messages and her email, he said she did it. And I said, well, how? She's, just asking for help. But I find often that he is right and he was here.
Yeah, so there's a DM from Sarah that you've never shared with anyone. I'm going to read it now. So this is what she sent you. This was back on June 4th, so not that long ago. I think it would be a really big hit because the only person who posted about it made it as the first image you see when you Google their names. Plus, I can give you intel. Just, I can't give you anything that could break the case. That's what cops told me. I mean, when I read that, because I get a lot of DMs, too, from people wanting me to cover cases and all sorts of things. But the fact that she said, I think it would be a really big hit, just to
Yes.
me is kind of strange. Like, if she's the daughter of these victims, this is her mom, why is she concerned about what would get clicks or be a big hit? Like, did you think that was weird?
I did, but then I told, maybe I can be a bit naive and I always want to think the best of people. That can be a good and a bad thing. But with this, I thought, well, maybe I just don't understand the way teenagers think anymore. Maybe they are always thinking about views and they're always in this social media mindset. But that did strike me as odd, but I still, even if some things were odd, I did not think to myself, she took the lives of her mother and stepfather. But I guess looking back, hindsight, maybe I should have found it even stranger than I did.
Yeah, you know what? Now that you say it, I actually agree with you. I probably would have second-guessed it, too, and thought, well, maybe she's just a teenager. She's going through something. Who knows what she's thinking? Do you think she was doing this and messaging you and wanting you to cover the case because she wanted attention and almost like fame out of it? Or do you think she thought that that would be like almost a cover-up if she, got you to think that it wasn't her?
Yeah, I think there's a few possibilities, at least in my brain. I'm not in her head, but maybe she thought if it came out that she was asking people to cover this, that would make her look innocent. Maybe she wanted to hear this story retold, kind of like we've heard in the past where criminals will ride back by the scene of the crime because they want to relive it. Was this a digital version of that? Or I think the least of the worst possibilities is, was she by June 3rd when she messaged me getting such a guilty conscience that her messaging people was the one way that she could kind of get it off of her chest in a way? I have no idea. I am not the only one she reached out to. Even Mama Tot, which if you've ever been on TikTok, you've probably seen her. She reached out to her. So the why behind reaching out to all of us, I am very curious of.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. I was wondering, like, do you have any idea how many in total she reached out to?
I have seen at least Mama Tot, which that is twisted for different reasons. I've seen Jade Talks. There's at least 3 others besides me that I've seen that have shared their screenshots and showed where she was messaging them. So it wasn't just me. It wasn't just one. And then to further it, she's requesting it from multiple people. And then it seemed that she was finding every video and replying to comments.
That's where it gets creepy with social media. I mean, it's like you try to cover these cases and then sometimes you end up like somehow involved. Janice, thank you so much for coming on tonight. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Sarah's grandfather says he believes her. He believes she's innocent and gave an interview singing her praises and saying he will stand by her through this.
His name is Dennis Nolan, and he told reporters, and I quote, "These murders, whoever did them, was cold-blooded." But now his own granddaughter's been arrested, and Nolan is firmly in her corner. He says that he, Grandpa, was Sarah Grace's first call from jail, and Nolan spoke exclusively with our Alex Capriello.
Ashley, the Carroll County Sheriff's Office says it has a mountain of both physical and digital evidence tying Sarah Grace Patrick to the murders of both her mother and her stepfather. But I just spoke to her grandfather, who believes she's innocent. He's going to continue to stand behind her and wants to actually see that evidence for himself before changing his mind.
Well, it's hard to make any judgment at this point. They have to release the evidence, and I don't understand what evidence they have. I think most of it, from what I understand, is circumstantial. And, she's my granddaughter. I have to stand behind her. And she swears her innocence.
So have you had a chance to speak to the detectives?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've talked to them at length. And they don't release any information. If they had something concrete, they would have arrested her a whole lot sooner. I mean, why wait months after everyone's sort of on hold and waiting to see what evidence they have for saying that Sarah did. I just can't imagine her. I mean, she's a sweet young lady. She's always been, a wonderful little girl. What can I say? I just can't imagine her doing such a horrific thing, especially to her mother. She and her mother were very close, and they were doing great at that time. They had a great relationship.
Did they have conflicts in the past?
Mother-daughter always have their disagreements, but, nothing serious. I just don't know. I know James had a very, strange past, that he was a convicted felon, and I think at one time was part of a motorcycle gang.
Do you think James's past might be something to look into?
I reflected that to the detectives early on. I said, I wonder if this is, James' past and coming back to haunt him.
Have you had a chance to speak to Sarah Grace?
I spoke to her after she was in jail. She called me. Of course, she was very upset. I mean, she always looked to me more as a father figure. She was begging for me to help. And I explained to her, there's nothing I can do at this point.
Wow, so her one phone call came to you, sir?
Yeah, she was very upset. I mean, she just was begging, please help me get out of this mess. And I told her just to do what they say and be cooperative, and we'll do what we can.
It's an unbelievable step to take, but it's not one that police and investigators take lightly to move forward with charging documents and arrest warrants. Of course, innocent until proven guilty, but that really is a leap for the police to take if they didn't feel like they had a case, right?
Yeah. Well, their answer to me was, she's the only one who could have done it. I said, well, what proof do you have? And he said, well, I can't tell you that, but I could just say that she's the only one who could have done it.
Sarah Grace Patrick is currently locked up and waiting for a public defender to be appointed to her. Her grandfather tells me that he'd help her find a defense attorney, but hopes someone actually steps up for the job after hearing her story and her claim of innocence. Ashley?
And our great thanks to Alex Capriello for that. If Sarah Grace Patrick is convicted, she faces life in prison without the possibility of parole. Think about that. At 17 years old, that could be well over 70 years in prison. No chance for parole. It's an adult charge. We're going to watch this case closely.
Police said they have a mountain of evidence against Sarah in their press conference announcing her arrest that I'll play for you in just a moment. But first, I want to say that I'll be praying for Sarah's little 5-year-old sister, who will now be raised without her parents. She's a victim in all this, and my heart breaks for her. She's just a baby. May her parents, Kristen and James Brock, rest in peace. And may she be placed with family members who will love her. She will probably go through life never knowing why her parents were taken from her by evil. Here is the press conference talking about Sarah's arrest, followed by a discussion about why police turned their focus to Sarah as their prime suspect in this horrific crime. Thank you for watching, and here is the press conference.
So, as you all remember, I recognize many of you in this room that did come out on the scene that fateful day on February 20th. On the morning of February 20th, 2025, deputies with the Carroll County Sheriff's Office responded to a tragic scene at 1531 Carrollton Tyus Road. They discovered the bodies of James Brock, 45, and Kristen Brock, 41, both deceased from apparent gunshot wounds. From the very moment the 911 call was received, a relentless investigation began, one that would span months, consume thousands of man-hours, and require the full weight of the local and federal law enforcement agency partnerships. Today, we can confirm that an arrest has been made in the case. Kristen Brock's 17-year-old daughter, Sarah Grace Patrick, has been taken into custody and charged with 2 counts of murder and 2 counts of aggravated assault in connection with the deaths of her mother and her stepfather. While the case has not remained in the public spotlight in recent months, the investigation has never gone silent. Led by investigator T.J. Repetto, our team has pursued every lead, sifted through mountains of physical and digital evidence, conducted countless interviews, and collaborated with agencies such as the FBI, the GBI Crime Lab, and private forensic laboratories. In a world where television portrays crimes being solved in under an hour, the truth here is much more complex. Real justice takes time. Time to ensure that no detail is overlooked and no stone is not turned over. Sheriff Terry Langley, alongside Captain Guy Pope and Lieutenant Jackson Lawrence, has remained committed to ensuring that justice is served in this heartbreaking case. Their leadership, combined with the tireless dedication of our investigators, has brought us to this point today. We know the public has been eager for answers, and we want to be clear. So have we. But bringing forth the truth responsibly and thoroughly is our highest obligation. We are proud of the unwavering commitment shown by every member of the Carroll County Sheriff's Office, and we stand behind the process that has led us here today. Our prayers remain with the families of James and Kristen Brock, and especially with their young daughter who was home during this horrific crime. We also want to extend our heartfelt thanks to the community that has rallied for justice and has never given up hope. The pursuit of justice does not end today, however. It is very possible, because this remains an open and ongoing investigation, that more arrests and charges could be made. So with that, I will open this up to questions.
Has she been charged as an adult?
She has.
And any idea what her motive was when she gave a confession?
We are still working with her diligently. Our investigators have been speaking with her.
It is correct that she was the one who made the 911 call, correct?
Yes.
At what point did investigators begin to focus on her as the suspect?
So I believe in the beginning of any case, everyone's a suspect. I think I told many of you that when we were on scene that day. However, as an investigation continues and everything ebbs and flows, like I said in my press release, mountains of evidence has gotten us through here today. Lots of processing, lots of working with our law enforcement partners to get us to where we are today that honed in on her as a suspect.
Do you believe that she tried to cover this up in any way over the course of these months? You know, we've even seen videos on social media of somebody saying, you know, I'm making this message on behalf of the daughter. Do you believe she tried to get people to cover up that?
Considering that she didn't just immediately tell us what happened, yes. But who knows what's going on in a young person's mind like that. But she has been arrested and charged now, and we feel confident that she is responsible for their murders. But like I said, it is an open, ongoing investigation. It's very possible others are involved as well.
What was the key break in the case?
Just evidence, being able to go through evidence, being able to use private laboratories, being able to use GBI Crime Lab. You know, when you're processing stuff, like I said, it doesn't come back in an hour. So we've been filtering through, and there's still evidence left to process.
You know, there's visual evidence. I assume that's text messages, emails. Was there some type of a trail that led you that way?
There's always a lot of evidence. I won't go into exactly what it is because it is an open, ongoing investigation, but we have mountains of evidence.
What about the social media and TikTok, that type of stuff? Any of that going to be used?
That will be up to the prosecuting attorney, and they'll work diligently with our investigators to make the case go forward towards trial or whatever they decide to do.
Was that the younger daughter, the youngest child that found them?
I believe that, and you speak to this, Kim, the smallest daughter found them that morning, correct? And then she came and told Sarah, and then Sarah made the 911 call.
Where was Sarah?
Sarah was in the home.
No, I mean, in the interim. Where was she staying? Who was she living with?
She's 17. She's kind of been out on her own.
Was she out on her own at the time?
No, she lived at home with her mother and stepfather at that time. But since then, she's lived with different family members and kind of moved all over the place.
Did she turn herself in?
Yes, she did turn herself in this morning.
Do you believe that any of the other family members knew about this?
Hard to tell. I can say this, that everybody that we have talked to through the course of the investigation that are family members have been nothing but cooperative. Anything else?
Did you do anything after the murder during the investigation that you had some use in your
Like I said, we're still kind of putting all the pieces of the puzzle together, but I can tell you what led us here today, and that's the evidence that Sarah killed her parents.
Did she say why she turned herself in?
She turned herself in because we notified her she had warrants for her arrest.
Did you have previous charges, any previous calls to that house regarding?
Not that I'm aware of, not regarding her, not that I'm aware of.
Did she seem remorseful?
I have not been personally with her or interviewed her, so I could not answer that question.
I mean, though it's a shock to her family as well. Did you get any kind of, were they shocked?
Like I said, her family's been very cooperative. I can't imagine as a parent making, her father brought her up here this morning, she turned herself in. I can't imagine what he's going through, so my heart goes out to him as well.
You talked about the family. I know they've been trying their best to keep this in the forefront.
Yes.
I know you guys are working behind the scenes.
Yes.
I guess it takes, especially for a case this big, it takes a lot of time to make sure the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. I mean,
Yes.
you speak to that because they've been seeming like on social media that they were frustrated, but it takes a lot.
Yeah, and we understand. I mean, if you don't work in the law enforcement field, like I said, CSI's kind of tainted us where, hey, something happens, it's done in an hour. This is not the case. I mean, and not only that, don't you want the right person arrested? So that's why it takes so long. These diligent investigators took their time. We've got the person that we believe orchestrated this and committed this horrific crime, and that was played through the part of evidence, and that's not something that's processed overnight.
Do you know where the weapon was obtained from?
I can't speak to that right now. Still investigation. Say that again?
The younger child, how old is she?
She is 6 years old now.
Do that custody of her?
She's staying with family.
Can you speak to like just how she is?
Oh, it's absolutely a shock to our community. Carroll County is a great community. We very rarely have stranger-on-stranger crime here, so I would like to say that we're not a dangerous community. I know that the Tice community that this happened in, those neighbors were really up in arms, as they should have been. Like I said, this has been a process to get us to where we're at today, but we don't know what goes through the mind of a child who wants to harm their parents. So that I can't answer right now, but it is a very horrific and sad case.
Was there any evidence of any type of, I don't want to say abuse, but challenges in the home?
Still an ongoing investigation.
And for anybody, who worked on this case, I don't know if there's ever been any other case like this in any of your careers, or if this is one of the few, but just when the facts, as you say, lead you to this conclusion, is it difficult, or what is that like just as a human, kind of when you follow the facts?
Anytime you work a case where somebody's life has been cut short, James is a special case because I believe, according to his family, he had a lot of heart trouble. He'd had numerous heart surgeries. I believe he may have been waiting on a heart transplant at some point. And to have his life cut short when he was given so many opportunities to live, to me, that's a big takeaway from this story, and that a mother and a stepfather will never be able to raise their children and the little girl that was in the home. To me, she's probably the saddest victim in all of this.
You did mention she didn't turn herself in. You said she was turned in with her father.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. I'll be around after. If you have any additional questions, I will send you, if you will give me a business card, I'll be happy to provide you with my press release and the mugshot. Let me know if there's anything additional after this that you may need. Okay, thank you for your time. I appreciate you coming out.
Ashley Halsey from the Carroll County Sheriff's Office, who you just saw in that press conference. Ms. Halsey, it's great to have you. Thank you so much for joining me on the program tonight. Can I ask you, what was it that specifically led to the arrest of Sarah Grace Patrick this week after almost 6 months since the killings?
Well, as I'm sure you're aware, Ashley, covering crime cases for so many years as you have, it doesn't happen overnight. I know everybody from the very beginning wanted an arrest and wanted somebody taken into custody. I wish it was that simple. But there are mountains of evidence you have to go through. In the times that we live in today, not only do you have the forensic and the DNA evidence, but you also have a lot of digital evidence as well. And sometimes that takes a long time for those things to return from different labs and whatnot. So I can't give you the specifics on exactly what pieces of evidence led us to the arrest on Tuesday, but I can tell you that it was how we followed the case, how the evidence came to be, and that is what led us to the arrest of Sarah Grace on Tuesday.
So I totally get you. A lot of people these days think that, you know, murders are solved like they are on the TV shows, CSI and Forensic Files, and then they're not. It takes a lot longer. You're right. However, I will say this. Arrests are usually fairly quick, especially when you have somebody who's a suspect who's 17, because the 17-year-olds aren't the most clever of the bunch. And that's why I was sort of flummoxed with the length of time it took. What kind of digital trail did you discover? I mean, have you got phones and laptops?
Well,
have you got tapped phones? Have you got just messaging? Like, what have you got?
Well, backing up just a little bit, in the beginning of this, everybody was a suspect. It wasn't that we immediately honed in on Sarah. Names were given to us of other individuals that could possibly have a motive or something like that. So those people have to be ruled out, right? We have to make sure at the end of the day that we feel confident that we are taking the right person in custody, especially when you're dealing with someone who is grieving possibly the loss of their parents. But throughout this investigation, as you've seen yourself through TikTok and other social media platforms, not only do you have all of that to sift through, but you may have phone records, you may have different types of geographical records that have to be sifted through as well. And unfortunately, that takes a lot of time to get those warrants back and be able to have somebody process all of that evidence. So we did not rush to judgment. She is just charged in this phase right now, so that is where we're at today.
So was there anything about Sarah Grace's 911 call that raised the hackles and made you think, red flag, time to look more deeply at her?
Not that I'm aware of. I believe that the story that we were given that morning, of course, was that the sister of Sarah Grace, the little girl, she was 5 at the time, she's 6 now, woke up and found her parents deceased and then came and told Sarah, who then made the 911 call.
You're saying it's a story. Are you saying it's just a story, or are you saying it's possibly accurate?
I'm telling you that the 911 call came in from Sarah after her sister found them, and that is all I know at this point.
So you still do believe that the 5-year-old, now 6-year-old child made the discovery and told Sarah about it?
Yes. And of course, we've conducted forensic interviews with the child as well.
Okay. That's always hard, too. Wow, when they're 5 and 6 years old, those are really tricky.
Absolutely.
What about that eulogy, Ashley? The eulogy, I found it hard to even understand. We put captioning on the screen because it seemed like she was terribly distraught. Was there anything in the eulogy that stood out to you that was a clue?
I was not personally there. We did have investigators that, of course, went to the funeral. I've said this before, in any situation where we don't make an arrest right away, you know, we always want to be present, not only to support the family through their grief at the funeral, but to make sure that nothing stands out. I will say, to me, just watching it online, you know, I can't tell you if she had real tears. I wasn't there to see it in person, but it seemed odd. It was more like a speech. And at the end, you know, she said, "I'm sorry." Was that, "I'm sorry because I may have done this," or is it, "I'm sorry because I was upset during this eulogy"? We may never know the answer to that, but that did stand out to me at the time.
Then also the TikToks, the social media. Was there anything in the social media that you found odd, that you found, you know, tweaked your interest to look further at her, or that stood out as an absolute clue and was a piece of the puzzle?
So I'm not the investigator that investigated the case. I get this information from the investigators to pass on what I'm able to the public. But I can tell you that her social media was followed, and the trails still continue to be followed today, because when you want to post your life online, it becomes fair game during an investigation like this.
That's fascinating. There's one other thing that I found interesting. You said more arrests could be possible. Can you elaborate a little on that?
So what we believe is through, interviews that we have had with Sarah, her father has been present during those as well. Different information that we've gotten throughout the course of the investigation, and now that she's in custody, could possibly lead to other individuals that may have been a part of this. So that is what we're following now, are those leads and seeing where that takes us. But we're not ruling it out.
When you say a part of this, do you mean a part of the actual killings, a part of the, accessory after the fact, harboring, or what?
Well, it's
what
hard
are you
to
thinking?
tell. It's hard to tell, but I can tell you that we're looking at a couple of different aspects that someone could have been involved or had knowledge, and we won't know all those facts until we continue to work this case. It remains a very active and fluid case, and just because we made an arrest doesn't mean we don't still have a lot of work to do.
Ms. Halsey, is Sarah Grace cooperating? I know the last I heard they were looking for a public defender, or maybe even a private defense attorney who might volunteer his or her services. But in the interim, is she cooperating with investigators and talking while in custody?
Up until the arrest, yes, she has been cooperative. Her dad has been cooperative. Any of the family that we've reached out to has been. I do believe that she has a public defender at this point. I have not been privy to the information since she has been placed in custody, so I don't know what those conversations have been since then.
But you think she was cooperating up until the arrest. You're just not sure if she's still cooperating since arrest. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Is there anything I'm missing that you can tell me that I haven't asked?
What I would say is this, one reason why I'm thankful to be given this platform to do these interviews is, as humans, we have conversations with people every day, and they may be very benign, but then you hear a little piece of something that happens, like Sarah Grace being arrested, and maybe you've had a conversation with Sarah, or maybe you've had a conversation with someone else within our community or within the social media world that maybe now means something different than it did then. So I would tell everyone that if you have a little piece of the puzzle that may help us, we urge you to contact the Carroll County Sheriff's Office, because it may seem insignificant, but it could actually be a big deal. And, our end goal is to provide justice for the victims, for the little girl. I mean, she's really the most innocent victim in all of this, the 6-year-old, but also to be able to provide a full closure to the family who very much deserves that.
Yeah, it's a good call to action, and every little detail in an investigation, can't stress that enough. Every little detail can actually be really big. Ashley Halsey, it's really good to have you. Keep us posted, will you?
Thank you. Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. Thank you for having me.